Good morning everyone, welcome to Living It Up. Welcome to Iceland, my very first time here. I'm here thanks to this beautiful motorcycle. This is the Norton Atlas motorcycle made by Norton in collaboration with TVS. It's actually made in India for the world. We have all been super excited since we saw it in pictures over the internet, and here we are, and what a place to ride this beautiful machine. Already on paper this makes such a strong argument. You have an all new 585cc paddle twin engine which pumps out a solid 70 PS, 57.5 Newton meters of torque. This weighs in at 188 kgs without fuel, so I think about 202 kgs wet. Yeah, it's a little on the heavier side, but we'll see how it goes. It does get a 15.4 liter tank, which is decent for an adventure motorcycle. This one also runs a 1917 wheel setup. We are right now riding the motorcycle with alloys. I know a lot of you were excited when the first post went out. Right now, the cross-spoke wheels, yes, they're going to be cross-spoke, which means they're going to be tubeless. They will be offered as accessories. But as of now, you can purchase this in the UK with alloys. When it'll come to India, we don't know yet. But we are told that we'll have the answers really soon, and the wait's not going to be very long. As you can see, this is a little tall. The seat height on this is about 845 millimeters, and you have ample 220 mm of ground clearance thanks to the 1917 setup. You get adjustable levers, you have really good suspension, you have Kayaba forks and shock, you have 180 mm of suspension travel at the front and back. The suspension is adjustable for compression and rebound when it comes to the forks, and preload and rebound for the shock. It's really pumped up to the T with all the electronic aids. So you have a 6-axis IMU, which means you get cornering traction control, you get cornering ABS, you get cornering lights, you have this huge 8-inch TFT display similar to what we have seen on the Manx. You have slide control, you have drag torque assist, you have a slipper clutch, you get a bi-directional quick shifter as standard, you get keyless ignition as well. You of course also get cornering cruise control, something which TVS has patented and introduced on so many of their motorcycles. You get heated grips, which I must say are a welcome addition, especially on a wet, cold day like today. So yeah, in terms of technology, this one has it all. And you have interestingly Euro grip tires, the Explore R tires that we first experienced and were pretty impressed with on the RTX. They did really well. This is going to be the litmus test though, because you have a motorcycle which obviously makes a lot more power and torque, and obviously is a lot heavier. We are in wet conditions, in pretty cold conditions, and they seem to be doing just fine. But as we pick up the speed, we'll see how it goes. But the first impressions are pretty good in terms of the feedback that they offer. I've always wanted to come to Iceland. This is the one place where I never thought that I would come and ride a motorcycle. And I literally am at the loss of words with everything. I mean, every single place that we went to, in every kind of condition, whether it was raining and completely gray, or when the sun popped up, no matter which direction, which place you looked at, it looked like AI. It did not look real. It's hard for me to believe that such places exist. And what a place to experience a motorcycle like this one. The highlight for me is undoubtedly the engine. First thing that you notice straight away is just how responsive it is. I remember leaving first thing in the morning when it was raining, the roads were wet. We were riding in the urban mode, which is a softer map, and already the bike was so peppy, so responsive. I'm like, holy cow, if this is how the bike feels in the urban mode, I have no idea how it will feel like to ride it in the sport mode. And yeah, I mean, you can imagine my smile only grew wider and wider. Even in the 6th gear, overtakes are so easy, and that's exactly what you want from a touring machine. You want a machine which is super comfortable, but also from an engine front has that tractability, you know, the ability to just chug along. It shouldn't require you to change a lot of gears, and that's exactly where this engine really shines through. And it is potent. I mean, we clocked around 192 kilometers an hour on a long straight, and yeah, it still kept pulling even in the 6th gear closer to the rev ceiling. Also, in terms of refinement, they again went to great lengths yesterday in the presentation about how they have really worked on the engine to reduce the mechanical clatter. And yeah, this is easily one of the most refined engines that I've experienced. I think if it was refined even more, it probably would feel more like a Honda, like almost plain Jane, like it wouldn't even have character. There's a little bit of buzz which comes in around 7,000 RPM, but again, the 6th gear, you feel nothing. Cruising on this at 130, 140, the machine is more than capable. Of course, the ergonomics, that's my next best thing. I've been through so many machines of late which where they were really focusing on a shorter seat height, and that's where tall people like us really suffer because it makes for really tight ergonomics. But this one, for the rider's triangle, is really nice and open and wide. The seat stands at 845 mm. On paper sounds like a lot, but honestly for my 5'11" frame it was perfect. And we also had Azma in here, who is not the tallest of guys, but even he had no trouble getting on the bike. Next, in terms of the windscreen, that's the next big important factor in terms of comfort on a touring bike. I personally preferred the lowermost setting because that gave me the least amount of buffeting and decent amount of protection. I wish you could adjust it on the go because you have to press on these two buttons for it to come up and down, which is very difficult when you are riding. So this essentially means that you have to come to the side of the road, adjust it, and then you're on your way. You have a 19-inch front, so of course this is not designed to be a proper hardcore off-road machine. But whatever off-road we did, it really impressed me. The balance is really good. They have done a really good job in terms of mass centralization and weight distribution, and also in terms of the geometry, so you don't really feel the weight. Off-road is also where I appreciated the riding position when I was standing up, and also the way they've designed this panel. It's really good to hold on to the machine and let it do its thing. The last section was arguably one of my favorite sections because just when I thought the day could not get any better, we hit a 15-kilometer off-road section where we were doing 120, 130 kilometers an hour off-road. And that showed you the balance of the machine, also the way the power is delivered, why the 270-degree crank. The motorcycle is so easy to manage in all sorts of conditions. The other big factor, of course, is the suspension. There were a couple of places when we really picked up the pace, when we were going almost 140, 150 in the corners. That's where I felt the front needed a little more work to feel a little more planted. The rear was pretty good, even on the harshest of bumps with the hard edge. But there was a decent amount of feedback coming onto the front. But again, because it's adjustable, I think that should be an easy fix. But I would love to spend more time on this machine to get a proper answer on that. In terms of the heat, no. We are riding in really cold conditions, so I can't really comment on how good the heat management is. In fact, we were wanting more heat coming off the engine because it was pretty cold in the morning when it was raining. But luckily, this does This is a top spec Apex variant which also comes with heated grips, which I really put to good use today. That's where also these knuckle guards came really handy in terms of protecting the hands from the wind. Final aspect where this motorcycle can improve, yeah, it is far from perfect. My number one problem is, again, first and foremost, the 8-inch TFT display. I love the size, but just like on the Manx R, it takes forever to boot up. Another part which is annoying is, even though this has keyless ignition, you have to use the key, the actual fob, to unlock the machine. Otherwise, it will not start. I don't know why that is the case. I can understand when the motorcycle or the handlebar is locked and you have to unlock it, you have to press that button. But no, even to get the motorcycle to start, even though there's a button right here, on and off button, you still have to use the key, which can get really annoying. The third part where I feel the bike could have improved is, of course, the braking. You have a twin 310mm disc setup at the front. You have radial calipers, you have steel braided lines. So on paper, you have a really potent braking system. In fact, not just that, you also have combined braking system. So my expectations were actually quite high. But what Norton have done is, just like on the Manx R, they've gone for a braking setup which is quite progressive in the beginning. It's quite soft in the beginning, and the more harder you press the lever, the more braking force you get. I personally am a big fan of having more stopping power up front, because that gives you the confidence that the motorcycle can stop. So yeah, at a lot of places, especially early in the morning when the roads were wet, I mean, it took me quite some time to get used to the braking, gaining the confidence and accurately gauging how much lever I need to pull to get the motorcycle to stop in a more predictable manner. This bike is also running organic pads. I think I would love to try this machine with sintered brake pads, because I think a lot of times, as I've tried on other motorcycles, that's a pretty good solution to get around this problem where you have pretty strong initial bite, which allows you to gain that much more confidence under hard braking. Which ultimately brings us down to the most important factor, which is pricing. I think Norton have absolutely nailed it in terms of the product. I think the pricing is also going to be a very big factor in the success of this motorcycle. In terms of the positioning as well, there's a big gap when it comes to the Indian market between the Himalayan putting you back by about 3 to 4 lakhs. You have now the F450GS, which is going to put you back by around 5 lakhs, but it doesn't make as much power as this machine right here. And then you have the Versys 650, which will put you back by around 8.5 to 9 lakhs. So that's a big vacuum right there, which I think this motorcycle is aiming for. Also keeping in mind the fact that the Himalayan 750 is also going to be releasing very soon, and that's exactly the kind of segment that motorcycle is targeting. So there you have it. Those are my first impressions of the Norton Atlas, a motorcycle which I'm absolutely in love with, and I cannot wait to ride it some more back home in India. And I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed that as much as they've nailed the motorcycle as an overall touring package, I really hope they nail the pricing as well, to give especially people who love to tour a fantastic option that we have not had before, especially in this particular segment. Ciao.